This is part 2 of our analysis of the match between Liverpool and Man City. Let's start. Kelleher has the ball. He's under pressure and decides to kick it forward. Akanji holds Nunez a little higher up from where the ball's likely to fall, then steps back and heads it to Stones. Rodri hops sideways, ready to receive the ball. Szoboszlai also thinks it's coming to him and comes to press him from behind. Foden drops to give option. Stones' body orientation makes Szoboszlai think that it's going there. He moves to block that lane and allows Stones to split their press with a disguised pass. Rodri takes his first touch away from the pressure, runs with the ball and plays out. Foden controls with the outside of his foot, shortens his steps as he looks up, hops to adjust himself and flicks it past Gomez. How beautifully he's combined change of pace, change of direction and varying stride length in one smooth motion. Gomez realizes his mistake. He can't allow Foden to go past him so easily. Instinctively, he goes to commit a tactical foul, but decides against it because it's still too early in the game to pick up a yellow. Look at him. The ball's on the bounce. He's pushing it forward with the outside of his foot while both his feet are in the air and is looking up while running at full pace. He looks down at the ball, looks up, looks at the ball again, takes another soft touch with both feet in air and looks up again to spot who's making the run. Thinks that Haaland is about to break forward and crosses, but Haaland didn't make that run. Ball's coming to Bradley. Now he's facing his own goal and is not sure of the threat from behind. So he clears it out with first touch. Good decision, because had he tried to turn, Bernardo would have snatched the ball from him. Alvarez gets ready to take the corner. Look how he does it. Raises his hand to show that he's about to hit it. Takes a quick look at his target. Jumps, extends left arm wide and right foot back, then snaps them together as he kicks the ball and follows through, so much so that his other foot lifts off the ground, making him land with his kicking foot. That's how it's done. There's a scramble for the ball and it falls to Luis Diaz. He flicks it to Elliott and darts forward for a counter. Nunez too is racing ahead. De Bruyne wants to stop the counter even before it can begin, but Elliott plays it forward quickly. Oh dear, Nunez is quick, but Bernardo's nasty. He comes in with a shoulder push and throws him off the ball. Nunez still tries to flick it onto his run, but misses it. Then he falls down with a dramatic gesture, hoping to win a foul. But nothing doing. The challenge was fair. Bernardo performs a quick mid-air turn as he controls the ball. He's got space ahead and carries it forward. Foden realizes that he must be out wide at this moment. Stones too is telling him to go on the wing. Haaland wants an overhead ball in behind. Van Dijk sees him standing to his blind side and calls out to Kwanzaa to stay alert to his movement. But Bernardo's under no pressure to play it quickly, and since he has space ahead, he keeps carrying the ball forward. Stones stays nearby. He realizes that he's in space and likely to receive the ball, so he scans quickly to assess where should he play it next. Bernardo, after having carried the ball for quite a distance, now finds himself getting into a 2v1 and so releases it to Foden, who further sets it first touch to Stones. Endo presses to not allow him to turn forward and lift his head up. Seeing the press on him, Foden drops to give an option and Stones plays first touch to him. Now Gomez presses. Rodri shows that he's in space, but the lane to him is blocked by Diaz, so Foden plays the safe pass backwards to Akanji. He has space ahead and carries the ball. McAllister doesn't like it that Akanji should be allowed so much space and freedom in midfield. He presses to take some of it away. Rodri anticipates that it's coming to him and scans to confirm the space and time he has. McAllister too thinks that it's going to Rodri. He goes to block that lane. But Akanji was alert to this movement. He instead plays to Ake. Now Elliott sees the space and time Ake is in. He presses. De Bruyne scans around, trying to read what's going to happen next. Ake is likely to play to this side. Where's Alvarez? He's there and is dropping to give option. Bradley is in pursuit, leaving space behind. He looks back at Ake as he receives the ball. Then, realizing that Ake is going to take one more touch, he scans quickly to check if Alvarez is ready to receive. Then looks back to Ake as he's about to play the ball. scans to see where the ball is going. Reads that Alvarez is coming under pressure from Bradley and will need to play first touch to him. Then scans quickly to check if he can play it forward first touch himself. Where's Haaland? McAllister notices the danger. Bradley has jumped, leaving space behind, and he's going into a 2v1. He won't make it. He calls out to Quansah to provide cover there. And, a mistake by Alvarez and the ball goes out of play. Bradley pushes him out. He wants to take a quick throw in. Guardiola catches the ball and holds it away from him because he wants to delay the throw in. Why? 7 of his players are above the ball. He's buying time for them to get back into defensive shape. Then he hands it over and raises his hands, else it would have been a yellow for him. He's a nasty fellow. Look here, he again pats Bradley on the shoulder to delay him further. Those 2 seconds by him have allowed Rodri to close down McAllister and Stones to get back. City is marking man to man and Bradley can only throw it backwards. Ball comes to their keeper. Guardiola gives Bradley a high five as a show of sportsmanship, but we know that this is an overreaction for what he did earlier. Haaland curves his run to cover that lane. Endo drops, asking for it, and despite being in a tight spot, he knows he has the space to turn. He sees a big gap in midfield and plays forward to Núñez, who's dropping into it. Núñez tries to flick it to Elliott with first touch, but misplaces it. And even though Foden is giving an option, Ake plays it backwards to his keeper. Foden doesn't like it. Akanji drops. Walker and Ake get wider. Rodri drops, asking for the ball and checking his shoulder. Edison plays to him and signals that there's no pressure on him. Stones comes to give option in this gap. Núñez sees him and covers that lane. Then, looking at Rodri's body orientation, he moves there. This opens the gap and Rodri plays into it to Stones. McAllister doesn't want to let him turn and face forward. But Stones is aware of the press. He lets him come close, plays out, and immediately moves to give option there. Diaz sees Rodri turn that side and anticipates that it's coming to Akanji. But Rodri goes overhead. Stones comes to give option here and scans to check where should he play if he gets the ball. Walker takes it on his chest, evaluates both options and plays the safer one. Akanji has no forward option to play to. He passes it to his CDM. Rodri carries it a little, sees the lane to Bernardo and then sees it disappear as McAllister comes to close it. Coming under pressure, he turns to protect the ball and switches it towards Akanji. Now, you must be beginning to see the difference in approach being taken by the two teams. Liverpool, on every occasion, is very eager to attack quickly, relying on aggressive pressing and high work rate, whereas City is more methodical about it. They want to dictate the rhythm, retain possession, and not lose it by plonking hopeful balls forward. Akanji holds the ball, evaluating where to play and slowing the game down. Liverpool are in a mid-block. Look how compact they are. Foden asks for it and gets it. But under pressure from Gomez ends up making a hasty decision. Now he's noticed, and correctly so, that Liverpool's defensive line is very high up. So he flicks it first touch behind them for Haaland to run to it. This was also his way of suddenly speeding the game up after City had slowed it down over the last 10-15 seconds. But unfortunately, this plan was only his own mind. Haaland was not expecting this ball, and he didn't make that run. The ball's lost. Stones isn't happy about losing the possession so cheaply. Quansah and Van Dijk drop to give option on two sides. Endo stays at the tip of the triangle and Bradley gets wider. Kelleher plays to Van Dijk and under pressure from De Bruyne, he plays it back to Kelleher. Haaland scans and curves his press. De Bruyne is marking Endo tightly. He seems to have been given the role to not allow Liverpool to build through Endo. Rodri knows that this guy is occupied here, this one's occupied here, and Bernardo will need to move up to press. That will leave McAllister free, so he comes up to mark him. Kelleher plays to Quansah and immediately Bernardo presses. He sees that Quansah has this big gap to play into, so he scans to confirm if he should press straight or curve it to block this lane. Rodri too has noticed this gap and sees Elliot dropping into it. He leaves McAllister and comes to block this lane. Bernardo's press is so quick that by the time Kwanzaa could lift his head up, he's on to him already. Kwanzaa pulls a Cruyff turn to escape. McAllister's getting ready to receive. De Bruyne senses an opportunity to come from blindside on McAllister, but Kwanzaa keeps carrying the ball himself. De Bruyne changes direction to cover that lane, then again to cover this lane, causing indecision and delaying Kwanzaa further. Also, notice how Bernardo has not gone for the ball. Instead, he's covered McAllister and took him out as a passing option. Ooh, this is dangerous. It's become a 3v2 right in front of their own goal. All because Kwanzaa stayed on the ball for far longer than he should. And just somehow, Kwanzaa manages to escape the press and retain the ball. Oof, this was unnecessarily dangerous by him. Now notice Bernardo's lightning fast game reading. While everybody is looking at the ball, Bernardo's already seen this lane emerge and is on his way to close it down. Oh, I tell you, this man's ability to read the game is on another level altogether. The ball comes to Kelleher. McAllister quickly checks where's his right back, and since he stayed up, he drops himself into that position. Alvarez starts to press, but seeing that the ball's about to reach him already, he concludes that he won't be able to stop him from turning. So he scans to check where McAllister is likely to play next, blocks that lane, and then presses up. Notice how he varies his direction as he presses, trying to create indecision. And it worked. Under pressure, McAllister boots it forward without really aiming it at anybody. Walker receives it on his chest, shields it from Szoboszlai, and as he comes under pressure from two sides, plays it backwards. City drop and get wide. Now a question for you. As a centre forward, what should Nunez be doing right now? Well, in my opinion, as a forward player, he's the first line of press. First, he must cover the options in midfield. He should move here to cover Rodri. Let them pass sideways or backwards, but don't allow them to build play through midfield. And then, after securing the passing lanes in midfield, he must press up to force Stones to play out quickly. But he doesn't do any of this. Why? Partly because he's not paying enough attention, and partly because he's got completely fooled by Stones' body orientation. The angle at which Stones is standing makes him think that he's going to play to this side. But instead, Stones plays to Rodri. Now Szoboszlai reads immediately that it's going to go through here and tries to intercept it, but misses it by a whisker. Liverpool's forward line of press has been cut yet again. Walker has space ahead and he carries it forward. De Bruyne goes to give option there. Rodri comes to give option here. Ah, Nunez! He's not made any effort to track back in time, and it's because of him that Rodri is about to receive the ball in so much space. McAllister presses. Rodri scans, and switches the play. Elliot presses. Bernardo reads that the ball's going to come to this side. He checks to see where's Alvarez, then drops to give option here. Ball's on the way. He scans forward and comes to give option here. As Bradley jumps to tackle, Alvarez plays it through the gap and tries to play a 1-2. Bradley realizes his mistake. He's been cut and has left too much space behind for Alvarez to run into. He commits a tactical foul and brings Alvarez down. But since the ball's still with City, ref plays advantage. However, there's nothing that Bernardo can do with the ball here. He plays it backwards to safety. Stones checks Akanji's position and tells Ake to switch the play to him. He starts hopping sideways to get into space, but then sees that everybody's moving there, so he stops and walks into the opposite direction to come into space here. They both notice each other. Akanji plays to Rodri, and jumps to stop him from turning. Rodri is aware of it and plays out first touch to Stones. Notice how both Luis Diaz and McAllister were anticipating what Rodri will do, and are already on their way to press if the ball were to come to their side. De Bruyne comes into the gap, expecting a first touch pass here, but Stones doesn't notice him. He takes his first touch away from McAllister, lets him come close, and then plays backwards just before getting burnt. A question for you. Why not pass the ball earlier? Why delay and let him come so close? Why invite unnecessary danger? Well, it's because if you reveal what you are about to do too early, then you give the opposition the time to readjust themselves. But if you delay it just a little longer, you make them jump, leaving their positions. And there really isn't much of a danger if you are able to play the ball out before getting burnt. Moreover, for Stones, this is also his way of asserting his dominance. It's like him saying to McAllister, "You think you're pressing me? No, bro. I'm the one in control. I'm making you jump from your position and not even letting you touch the ball." Akanji receives and, quite unexpectedly, sends a disguised pass forward. What a wonderful ball! Liverpool's midfield's been cut again. De Bruyne checks his shoulder to see if he has space to turn. Haaland starts his run. He sees this as the right moment to expect a through ball in behind. Quansah and Van Dijk turn to go with him, but they don't start running just yet. They see that De Bruyne is still turning and will require at least one more step before he can release it forward. So they hold their run and thus play Haaland offside. And that's a poor pass by De Bruyne. It comes straight to Quansah, who lays it off quickly to McAllister. Elliott wants the ball here. If he can get it, Liverpool will suddenly come into a very threatening position. But under Stones' press from behind, McAllister chooses the safe pass backwards. Alvarez presses. Quansah drops to offer him the safe back pass option. Bradley tries to escape with a 1-2. But now, under Bernardo's press, McAllister isn't sure if he can sneak the ball through here. So he chooses to play it backwards to safety. Haaland curves his press. All options in midfield are marked very tight. Van Dijk's not happy with the way Quansah again holds the ball. He shouts at him to play out. And finally, Quansah plays it backwards to his keeper. It comes to Van Dijk, who has space ahead and carries it forward. His run attracts De Bruyne towards him, leaving Endo free. So he plays to Endo, who turns and plays to McAllister. And though he's facing backward, he sees the gap and sneaks a pass through it. Elliott drops to collect it. Coming under pressure from three sides, he plays it out quickly. Alvarez presses. Quansah takes his first touch away from his press and plays backwards. Van Dijk tells Kelleher to hold it. It's been too long that they've had any decent possession of the ball. Haaland sees him in space and goes to cover him. Endo drops and De Bruyne stays close on him. Kelleher doesn't have an option to play to. De Bruyne decides to press. He tells Haaland to keep covering that lane and moves up and forces Kelleher to play it long. Nunez and Ake challenge for it and the ball goes out of play. The story of the match so far? Liverpool's press keeps getting breached. In contrast, City's press has been very effective. They've been able to force Kelleher to launch long balls where Nunez keeps losing them and they get the possession back. Well, that's it for this part. See you in part 3.